out as B. I apologize. So, welcome. Let me make sure I'm Yep, I am. Welcome to meeting number 7, and I believe we have how many more, Dana?
This is the last one we're hosting. Next week is local.
Awesome. So, it's been fun. I think we have learned a lot. I know Dana and I talk about it all the time. I think these meetings have actually helped us understand your sport a little more, as well as other sports. I know that um, Dana is pretty proficient with football rules and things, and I'm proficient with basketball. But I think with all of these meetings, we've kind of become a little bit more knowledgeable, and we talk about it. That really, if you're an official, I think you can we can relate to from sport to sport. So with that, I hope all is well. We're back to playing, which is an amazing thing. I hope the first week, for those of you that did get to work, you enjoyed it. And I know we get busier this week with a few more schools coming in. So with that, I'll pass it over to Dana, and I'll let her introduce our speakers.
Awesome. Thank you, Nate. As Nate mentioned, this is our last of the NMAA hosted meetings for this soccer season. We really have enjoyed it, and I've taken a lot of notes that we can actually use for some of our other sports. I just think there's so much that everybody can gain from each other. So it's been eye-opening in a lot of ways, and certainly it helps us with what we're doing as administrators at the office. So thank you for your contributions. The presentations have been excellent, and I've really enjoyed just seeing everybody from across the state get together in the same place and share information and share ideas and bring some consistency to how we do things. So I think that that's been a really positive aspect of this crazy year. So as I've said before, we're trying to find as many silver linings as possible, and I think just the ability to be together has been one of them. So next week will be local meetings. Local groups can hold those anytime between Sunday and Saturday of next week. Nate will get with the group leaders at some point next week to talk about how to get attendance to you all or from you all, and we'll go forward from there. So again, thank you all for your participation in these meetings all year, and glad to see people are back on the pitch. I was reading some Facebook comments about the tired legs from 3 matches in a row, and hopefully everybody's soaking and taking lots of ibuprofen and doing whatever is necessary to recover from that. So it's we appreciate everybody's diligence in getting games covered, and our signers have done an outstanding job, and the officials willing to, we had a crew that went from Albuquerque to Gallup with not a lot of notice, and everybody's just coming together to make sure kids are able to play. So thank you to everybody who's doing that and making it happen, because we know you're behind the scenes and doing a great job. So thank you. Without further ado, we will go ahead and pass it on to, oh, look, Jose's got his cards ready to roll. So thank you, Jose. You read, oh, so is Frank. Everybody put your cameras on and have your cards out. That's what the email said. So I'm going to know which ones of you read my email and which ones of you didn't. So we'll turn this over to our presenters who are talking about denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. And our presenters this evening are from Las Cruces, and it is Bill Lindeman, or as we now call him, B, because his name got cut off, Bill Lindeman and Drew Player. So we'll go ahead and pass it over to you guys, and we appreciate your presentation. As usual, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got questions during the course of the presentation, if you could just put them in the chat. If they are not related to the presentation, we'll just wait until afterward. Dave Lobbin has asked the Albuquerque area, the Central Region officials, to stay on again at the end of this meeting for a couple of things. So we will do that at the very, very end. So Bill, Drew, the floor is yours, gentlemen.
Okay, we'll get started right away here. Okay, first of all, for those of you who don't know us from the north, we're based out of Las Cruces, and we do Silver City, Deming, Hash, TRC, Rio DOGSO, Alamogordo, 3 high schools in the Gaston School District, and of course 4 in Las Cruces. for those of you who haven't heard, we want you to pull out your red and yellow cards. I'll do the first section, and then Drew will do the second. And Drew, Drew's gonna want you to show a red or yellow card. So you're gonna have your video on. And anyway, going to DOGSO, denying a goal or an obvious goal scoring opportunity. You know, it's tough out there. There's a close play in the penalty, penalty area. And, you know, darn well, as you make that call, half the stadium is going to be against you, and they'll be all shouting and everything. That if you don't make that call, then the other half of the stadium is shouting at you and carrying on. So you're kind of between a rock and a hard place. You make the call and carry on regardless of what's going on in the spectators. But on top of that rock and hard place, now consider whether it's a DOGSO, denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity or goal. Okay, you won't see this in the IFAB rules booklet. At least I haven't seen it expressed as such. But certainly USSF for many years talked about the 4 Ds in one way or another. I'm going to go through these 4 Ds quickly, and then a couple other points, and I'm going to turn it over to Drew, who is going to show you some situations, and we'll ask you for the card. So if you don't have your card yet, run and get it and come on back. So the criteria for DOGSO, the 4 Ds. First of all, distance between the offense and the goal. I'll show you a slide in just a little bit. The further you are from the goal, the less likely it's going to be a DOGSO, because there's opportunity for the defense to recover. The second D, and I like to have these 2 Ds right together, likelihood of keeping or gaining control of the ball. Now, if the player, particularly on a through ball, the ball goes way in front of him or her, there might be an opportunity for the defense to come up and get the ball, or the defense gets behind, and as the player gets the ball, the defender gets the player. So distance between the offense and goal, distance to the ball, general direction of the play. Which way is the play going? Okay, it should be, to be a DOGSO, it should be heading for the goal. Not going down the sidelines, hoping to pass, but heading toward the goal. Now, yes, they're heading toward the goal, but if the goalkeeper comes out and you make a slight jog to the right or left to avoid the goalkeeper or another defender, still heading toward the goal. In other words, the direction, the general direction of play. And finally, the location and number of defenders. Okay, if there's only one defender between you and the keeper, and no other defenders have a chance to interact in the play, and that defender takes you out, that is going to be a DOGSO. I might add, if you kind of consider what we do in an offside, the moment the ball is kicked, we take a snapshot of where the offensive player is with respect to the defensive line. We take a snapshot of that and use that for a judgment. Similarly, when we're looking to determine if it's a DOGSO, we take a snapshot of the situation. How far are you from goal? How far are you from the ball, or can the person gain control and keep control of the ball? Where are the defenders, etc.? So it's a snapshot at that point, which is critical. Lastly, all four must be present. And that's why I do like the concept of the 4Ds, because I can remember the 4Ds. Okay. And somebody says they don't have cards. Well, that's all right. You can still be with us. Okay. Likelihood of DOGSO and areas of the field showing the direction to play. The first one, the red arrows, the direction of the play is toward the goal, and you're at the penalty area or outside the penalty area a bit, 10 yards or so. Very possible DOGSO area. Unlikely in this scenario where they're up near midfield or they are going down both sidelines, okay, and not heading toward the goal. Now, some may say, well, up there at midfield, it is very unlikely. I will tell you, I saw Landon Donovan kick a goal because the goalkeeper was way out of the box. Landon Donovan kicked a goal from midfield and it went in. But finally, if you're way back here, the likelihood, well, it's basically unlikely, very, very unlikely. Of course, I say that, and as we all know, we prepare for every situation, and for some strange reason, this 1 in 1,000 chance is happening, but generally, no, not back there.
Damn, you know what? I think that you got the volume turned down so low I can't hear shit.
Oh, okay.
Now I don't even know how to turn it up.
Okay. So Mr. Gage was telling me he couldn't hear. I'll try to speak louder. Okay. So this is straight from IFAB, where a player denies the opposing team a goal or an obvious goal scoring opportunity by a handball offense. The player is sent off or disqualified for our high school rules, wherever the offense occurs. So a handball, I've called in 25 years, I think I've called 2 of those, even before the new rules were stated. So handball, and we'll see a very good example of that shortly. Where a player denies the opposing team or goal or an obvious goal scoring opportunity where the 4 criteria for DOGSO are present and the offense is outside the penalty area, is sent off. I want to stress outside the penalty area. There's other considerations when you get inside the penalty area. So if they take them down in a DOGSO situation outside the penalty area, the penalty is a red card. Where a player commits an offense against an opponent within their own penalty area, which denies an opponent an obvious goal scoring opportunity, and the referee awards a penalty kick, the offender is cautioned. If, and that's a big if, the offense was an attempt to play the ball. We'll see an example of that shortly. In other words, they've got to be going for the ball. They can't be going for the player. Okay, the penalty is a penalty shot, obviously, within the penalty area. But instead of a red, they gave a yellow. And this was changed a couple years ago through IFAB and through high school. Okay. denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity. In all other circumstances within the penalty area, holding, pulling, pushing, etc. In other words, the defender is playing the player and not the ball. The offending player must be sent off or disqualified, as we call it in high school rules. I wish they were all this obvious. It's very obvious the yellow player is holding the blue player. A player is sent off, substituted. A player sent off player, substituted, or a substituted player who enters the field of play without the required referee's permission and interferes with play or an opponent and denies the opposing team a goal or an obvious goal scoring opportunity is guilty of a send-off offense. In other words, disqualification. And you note, yes, a player, but also those players on the sideline who decide to get involved. Of course, if it's a bench player or if it's a player on the sidelines, they can be sent off, but you do not reduce the number of players on the field. Finally, a disqualified player must leave the field and may not return or be substituted for. Okay. In high school, they remain in the bench area. The disqualified player is restricted to the team area. However, if it is an adult, a coach, a trainer, etc., they will be required to leave the vicinity. Now, what happens on occasion is that this disqualified player on the bench starts causing problems, starts hollering, whatever. At that point, I will come over and tell the coach, get this person under control, or I will card him. Okay. That's my portion. I will entertain a few questions right now before we get to the live action.
Nothing has showed up in the chat, Bill.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Drew.
Awesome. And thank you very much, Bill, for your portion of the presentation. There's no questions, so I'm just going to assume that everyone is on the same page in terms of DOGSO. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to share my screen here. And there we go. Okay, so as we mentioned, at this point of the presentation, we would appreciate it if everybody can turn their video on and have your cards ready. By all means, if you're somewhere where if you're driving or you're somewhere where there's a lot of noise in the background, then by all means you can stay on the screen. The idea for this presentation is for the sorry. The idea for this presentation was to have it interactive, okay? A lot of times we go through Zoom meetings and trainings and it's just a lecture. So we wanted to kind of change it up a bit and actually give all the referees an opportunity to make decisions for themselves. So just real quickly, the DOGSO criteria refresher. Bill mentioned it earlier, be ready to take your snapshots. So, you know, when things like this happen in the game, you see it one time. So you've got to be taking those mental pictures of what's happening on the field of play, whether you're the referee or assistant referee. So try to get as much information as possible, especially if you're an AR that you can help relay to your referee. So For the purpose of this, I will play the videos about 2 to 3 times so that way everyone can get a good view of it. I will stop it early before the referee makes their decision. So I don't want you to be influenced by what the referee has given. The majority of these videos are from the Pro Referee website. So they are verified and backed up by Pro here in the US. So yeah, so just be ready to take your snapshots. Remember the 4Ds. And I want to know the sanction, so you'll simply show the color that you believe should be issued at that point, and then what the restart is. And what I'll do is I'll play a video a couple of times, and then I will ask for volunteers to make your case as to what the decision should be. Is there any questions from anybody? Perfect. So let's go and get started. This is probably your best view. So now that you guys seen that a few times from different angles, I'm going to ask that everyone put up their cards and what is your decision as to what happened here, given the criteria that we've discussed. I see a lot of the same color, and I see a lot of no. Oh, now I've got a couple of. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so Mr. Bravo, Jose Bravo from Roswell, you're showing a red card. Can you? Would you like to explain the position? Why?
Yeah. What I saw was a hand in unnatural position put onto the goalpost by rule, by law, a natural position. He stopped the goal with his arm, which would be a red card, and the restart would be a penalty kick.
Correct. Yeah. So where a player denies the opposing team a goal or an obvious goal scoring opportunity by a handball offense, the player is sent off wherever the offense occurs, or in this case, would be disqualified in high school. Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Bravo. So we will go on to the next one. Some of these are going to be really quick because the card comes out kind of quick on some of them. So at this point, the referee makes his decision. So I'll go ahead and start it over for everyone. Play it maybe one more time. Okay. So after seeing that, what do we, let's see what we've got here. Everyone can put up their cards. Okay. Do I have any volunteers that want to explain their decision?
I can volunteer.
Sorry, who's that?
Kevin Ayton. I've done a few games. I'm actually from Colorado. I'm a state emeritus and a state assessor, regional assessor from Colorado.
Awesome.
I think maybe in a pro game it could be red, but at most of the games we do, that's going to be yellow. It's pretty far from goal. He clearly knocks him down, but we can't assume, not that far away. And the players that we do, obviously the we would yellow, we would caution, we might chew a little butt and say stop and no more, and then manage the players because they're going to be upset over it, and restart with a direct free kick.
Okay, thank you for your input. Is there anyone else that has a different color that would like to give their opinion or their perspective?
I think I would add more to this like comment of Kevin. There's the distance that matter there, and then also the goalkeeper still need to beat. So yellow is appropriate, I think.
Okay, thank you. I will say that Pro backed up the red card in this situation. Obviously, this went to VAR and all that, and it was supported that this is a holding, tripping type DOGSO foul outside the penalty area, which results in a red card. So just wanted to clarify that. So let me see. Okay, number 3. And one more last look. Awesome. All right, so let's see what color you guys have, or if you have a color. Okay, I've seen a lot of the correct color. Does anyone want to volunteer in this situation for this scenario?
I'll take this one. There are a number of defenders. There's still another defender there too on this particular play. Also, the direction of the play is not exactly going towards the goal. I'm going to say we're okay with the caution.
Thank you, Frank.
I'd like to add something on that. I think the player attempt to play the ball, not the player. So that's one thing I saw that. That's why I gave the yellow card, not the red card.
I just want you to remember, though, if it happens outside the penalty area, regardless if they're trying to play the ball, make an attempt to play the ball, it's still going to be red card. Okay, awesome. So yeah, the decision here is this is stopping a promising attack, okay, because all 4 Ds are not present. There is another defender that, as we can see here, is in a position to make a play on the ball. And so that's what negates this as being a DOGSO.
I have a question though.
Sure.
What about the safety of the player? Because that tackle can finish someone's career.
Well, I guess it would be up to the referee if he determined that to be serious foul play, or if he thought it was just a reckless challenge. But in this situation, when we're talking in terms of the type of tactical foul, it doesn't meet the criteria for DOGSO, but it certainly does for stopping a promising attack. So obviously, if the severity of the foul is warrants a red card, then by all means, DOGSO doesn't matter at that point.
You mean what he's saying right there is there's a possibility of serious foul play and sending him off for that. But that's not what we're discussing.
Right. Correct. All righty. Let's go ahead and go to the, make sure it's out here. This should be video number 4. Okay. And one last time. Okay. So like Bill mentioned earlier, in this situation, even though the attacker takes his touch, maybe trying to round the keeper, we still have to consider, the considerations in this. So if you guys will put up your cards, let's see. I think I'm seeing all the correct colors except for maybe one. Okay. So do I have anybody that wants to volunteer as to why they've given the sanction that they did?
Can you pause on the time of the contact between the goalkeeper and the player? It's not like serious contact.
Sorry, can you say that again? You're kind of faint. I can't hardly hear you.
Can you please pause between at the time where there's a contact between the player and the goalkeeper? Can you play that video again so when we see the contact between the goalkeeper and the player?
Sure.
It can be also a simulation.
Wait.
To me, it looks like the goalie, like somebody put in the chat, the keeper is making a poor or late timed attempt to make a play on the ball.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
I mean, so that's what I saw was the keeper trying to make a play on the ball, although it was poorly timed to say the least. So I'm not sure I would do a card in there because I think he was trying to play the ball. Although we did talk about earlier an attempt to play the ball, but he played the attacking player instead.
Yeah, Todd, so you make a great point. You can argue that that's a careless challenge 100%, but the fact that do we have all 4Ds present in that situation is where it would change, giving a caution as to.
He did make that one touch pretty far up. The ball was pretty far ahead of him at one point.
Okay.
Drew?
Go ahead.
Mark Yoder. I'm not sure if I'm misunderstanding this or not, but I think at some point we have to ask ourselves, is the goalie playing soccer? Because that's one of the criteria as far as playing in the goal area or the penalty area. And I gave a red because goalies don't usually play with their feet.
Right.
So goalies are supposed to be playing with their hands in there, and that's why I gave the red, because he's not holding, of course, he's not handling the ball, but in the general terms, he's not playing soccer as a goalie should be playing soccer.
There was an interesting comment in the chat there. Something about it, did both feet leave the ground?
I'm not seeing the chat. Hold on one sec. There we go.
I don't remember.
Yeah, if you guys could keep up with me on the chat. Sorry, I'm just.
I do get what Mark is saying about playing with his feet, not with his hands. Seems like he could have made the dive for the ball the other direction.
I guess that's my understanding from what I've been told is, you know, if they're not playing soccer or playing the ball with a basic soccer, like they're supposed to be playing soccer, then it is a DOGSO, or if the 4Ds are present inside the penalty area.
But the keeper has a right to tackle and tackle hard. It's whether his, and I put in the stats, whether his teeth are up. If the teeth are up and it's beyond, you know, again, with excessive force, that's the problem with this one. We can't, I think his toes are down and I think it's okay. I think it's yellow, but this is one where we better think about all the options. We better have, and this is a hard one to get a good angle. We better have been hustling and have a good angle, because that's the only way you're going to see if his teeth are up.
I agree. Being in a good position as the referee is obviously is going to make your job a lot easier. Looks like we have a hand up. Hank, go ahead.
Yeah. Speaking as an official, as a goalkeeper, and as a goalkeeper coach, Mark is right, but also goalkeepers have to protect themselves. In a play like that at high speed, if he's going to tackle with the ball with his feet, I consider that a soccer play. Now, if studs are up, that's different. But if studs are down and he's tackling the ball, he's making a soccer play. He's not playing the man. He's not playing the player. He's playing the ball. So for me, I'm the official on that game. I have a yellow card, and I have a PK.
Thank you, Hank. Great description there. I see Brian Bruce, you have your hand raised as well.
Yeah, the one thing we got to remember when we do this, we don't have the luxury of rewinding. We don't have the luxury of VR. We have to make a spot call, and if you're not there, you better. I mean, you don't have the luxury of going, well, you know, we watched it several times. So pros, you know, we need to go strictly with the high school rules. Don't bring the pro rules in. Just go strictly with what we do and nothing else. And a spot check, because we don't have that. Rewind. You've got one shot at this.
Absolutely. That's why it's important to take snapshots when you are officiating, not just for DOGSO, but for offside, for different things where you need to make decisions. So obviously, yeah, we don't have VAR or anything like that, but as high school referees, it's something that should be discussed in your pregame. If you have the luxury of having a comm system to discuss in real time, then even more power to you. So again, this is more of just to give you guys, to give us an idea of what to look for. Okay, just different examples. And I will say this last video, again, pro backed it up. That was a yellow card because they deemed that the keeper was attempting to play the ball in a DOGSO situation, and it was and caution because it was in penalty area. So if we could, let's move on to the next. Sorry, I got my thing in the way. I'm not sure if you guys saw that. Let's try it again. Okay. Did that player sell that? Probably.
Yes, totally sold. You can see him slowed up. He slowed up half a second. Watch it again. Slowed up and let the guy run into the back of him.
Yep. But what we've got to look at is the outcome. What happened in that situation? And if that contact wasn't made, are they in a position to, is it an obvious goal scoring opportunity? So having said that, let's see what colors everybody has. Pull them up as I go through everybody here. Right, Nigel, sounds good. Okay, so who would like to volunteer on this one? Someone who hasn't gone yet.
I can.
All right, Emilio, go ahead.
Without the holds there, it's just a 1v1 versus the keepers, and it wasn't something to play the ball at all. So it would be an easy red.
So yeah, key word there. This is a push pull hold type of foul inside the penalty area. So obviously the restart will be the penalty kick, and the sanction will be a send off or disqualification. That one's pretty straightforward. Let me see. This one should be next. Yeah. This one's a little interesting, and I definitely welcome all perspectives. All right, what do we got? Let's see colors here. I see some people have both up.
It's hard to see.
No foul, play on.
It gets crowded down there, and I really couldn't see exactly what happened. I really think if I'm the center on that, I'm going to my AR, hoping he had a better view.
Contact on
So
because it's hard to.
let's go ahead and do it one more time, or a couple more times. Yeah, this video is not the best quality. I apologize in advance, but let's see how to play. There we go. So we're looking for the type of foul it is. Is it an attempt to play the ball? And we're also looking at, it goes kind of fast, it's hard to see. So this is definitely a situation where, as a referee, you're speaking with your AR and asking, you might have been shielded, maybe been a little bit too far from play. This is a situation where you need as much information from the crew as possible. So what do we got here? Who would like to volunteer on this one?
I'll volunteer for this one.
Hayden?
Yep.
All right, Hayden, go ahead.
So I think the easiest thing to do here is, just because we don't have a clear opinion and we're acting in the role of the center ref, we could defer to the AR's opinion here, because he's on the side of the player where it would make the difference. Because if he kind of caught that ball and it went off to the right, then that could easily be a fair scrum for the ball. If it's right in front of him, then that guy's kind of tackling him from behind, and that's a different situation. And so the AR would know that. But from this perspective, I don't think there's anything there.
In terms of, you don't have a foul that occurred?
Yeah. I think it looked fair.
So I'm gonna continue to play the clip here.
Well,
and then you'll
one problem with the play, you know, it's a PK because the AR runs for the spot and the referee signals it right away.
Yeah, so it's definitely a penalty based on what they're doing here. It's over. Go back.
So look, when this was just like the Man City Man U game this week. Anybody saw it? Almost an identical play. It clearly is not probably a DOGSO. There's another defender coming into the play, but definitely there was contact on that guy's back heel or the back part of his leg, and he was inside the area. So clearly a penalty, probably a yellow card, and game, set, match. Very easy.
So in this situation, the referee went with a red card. There was another defender that was in close proximity to the attacker, but the fact of the matter is they were at the penalty spot essentially. And if that foul does not happen, that is a DOGSO situation. And I believe the referee also determined that this was a push, pull, hold type of foul in the penalty area. So that's why the red card came out. So.
Oh, okay. I couldn't
And
tell.
it could also be that the video's from 2014 before the law was changed.
It very well could. Well, it says 2014 on there.
And
but
I'm much more concerned that he beat them. And you can tell he's by them. And once we're by them, a defender is much more suspect with these little hits from the back corners. And we need to be aware of that, because if like I put in the chat, if they didn't sandwich him, they grabbed him, but he beat him. And we at that point have to reward good attacking soccer.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kevin. Great explanation there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. This one. Sorry guys, I'm having a couple of difficulties because this is the first time I've hosted a Zoom thing. So here we go. No, we already watched that one. My apologies.
May I make a suggestion, Joe Fawcett?
Sure.
If you have a smaller image on your screen, it'll use less bandwidth to send the video. It won't be so chopped up, maybe.
Sorry, is everyone seeing it like real choppy?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's spending some time buffering.
I'm not quite sure how to fix that. Nate, do you have any advice?
Unfortunately, no, there's not really much we can do other than, I mean, there's a way, but it's kind of a functional setup for future. But ultimately, you know, what we've told other sports officials and stuff like this, I think we can get the basic idea of what we're actually watching. But Drew, if you might want to also send us the links to these YouTube videos, and we can always send that out in an email so they can go back and review.
Okay, yeah, I think I sent you and Dana the PowerPoint.
Oh, so it's all in that PowerPoint?
Yes, everything's on there.
Hey, Drew, you might also try closing some of those previous windows, because they're probably still all loading in the background.
I do.
Yeah, there you go. Those other tabs.
There we go.
Drew, I have a comment.
Sure.
We were talking about professionals. In professionals, the referees get together, they see a lot of films, they study practically every single player, and they know which one is a diver, which one is the one that's a faker. So when we come to high school, we don't have those tools, but during the game, when we are doing a high school game, we do check every player, and if a player is doing it, that is, he's diving all the time, once he gets to the penalty area, it's very difficult to call the penalty, first of all, and also give him a red card, because more likely he will get a yellow card because he's making it, because we have to read and learn how to read the game. That was my comment.
Yeah, I totally agree. You're going to do games where players like to embellish and try to sell calls to the referee, and ultimately that comes down to your judgment, in my opinion. Maybe it's something that you address first time you see it, and maybe the message is received from all the players. But again, you know, I'm not trying to sway your thoughts on if someone's diving or what. We're just basically looking at these particular scenarios. All right, let me know if this video is better or if it's still too choppy. Because on my end, it looks perfect.
It's still a little choppy, Drew.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we have? What decision are we making here? Thank you, Dave. Mr. Barnhart, looks good. Who else? I'm not seeing very many other. Kevin, yes. Chris, yes. Awesome. Okay, so who would like to volunteer for this one? Bill?
Okay, I'll volunteer. Breaking up a strong advantage situation, so it is indeed a tactical foul, but there's no DOGSO. There's no DOGSO there. It's not even close to a DOGSO.
Okay, can you kind of go into why this isn't a DOGSO situation, Bill, just based on the criteria?
Yes. Certainly a yellow card because it's a handball. He broke up that strong advantage, but it is not a DOGSO. Criteria are not there. The 4 Ds are not there.
Yeah, this situation, it's not a DOGSO situation. This is a stop and a promising attack by deliberately having the ball. So that's why the caution came out in that instance. All right, so these are the last two. I know that this video in particular, the quality is poor, but the decision should be quite clear. And one last time. Okay. So let's see what color we have. I see, okay. I'm seeing all the same color, which is fantastic. All right, who would like to cover this one?
I'll take it. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Barnhart, go ahead.
The defender, the distance to the goal is pretty close in the box or in the penalty area, excuse me. Direction of play is on goal. The striker seems to have a good chance of getting control of the ball, and the defender doesn't even attempt to play the ball, just pulls the attacker down. So I think we've got to go red and penalty kick.
Perfect. Yeah, this is a push-pull-hold type of situation in the penalty area, which will result in a red card or a disqualification every single time.
That was an easy one.
That was easy. That one should have been first, huh? And this
question.
Go ahead, Dom.
So what if the defender tried to pull the striker even though he was in the penalty area, and then he just tried and let him go.
Okay.
And by doing this, kind of unbalance the striker, and then the striker missed the shot to go. What will you do?
Okay. Are you saying like if there's an advantage played in a DOGSO
Yeah.
situation? Okay. Bill, do you want to kind of cover that briefly?
You allow the advantage play to continue. Okay. And then you can give a yellow card, but not a red card. Okay. If outside the penalty area. If inside the penalty area, you still give a yellow card. But outside the penalty area, if it's a DOGSO and you give an advantage situation where you would normally give a red card, now you give a yellow card.
Okay, so we're going to downgrade the sanction in the event that it's played. Perfect. Any questions on that? Sorry, we've got one more. Any questions on that last one or that last explanation? Okay. So this one, I have mixed feelings about this video, but we'll see. All right, what do we got? I'm going to let that video play a little bit more because they do give different angles, but I want to see what our initial thought is in this scenario.
The attacking, to me, it looked like the attacking player slowed down in order to avoid the play from the keeper. I think that led to the defender getting him from behind.
Okay. Anybody else? Do we have, I'm not seeing any cards up. So do we not have a foul? Do we not have a sanction?
It's hard to say there was intention for me.
I thought the keeper tackled him just outside the penalty area.
It's very difficult to see initially, so what I'll do is let this one play and then hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it looked to me like the keeper reached out with his hand and grabbed the attacker's foot. But by that time, another defender was passed to where it might not be a DOGSO in that case. But I'd certainly call a PK, and I've seen him with the yellow. I was thinking yellow.
Yeah, I that was my first impression also. It's not the initial contact here. Watch it. It's his backhand that comes around and grabs him after he's in the area.
That could have been a
exactly
screen, but we won't get into that.
You see, it's his backhand that gets him.
So
yes.
My issue here is he rounds the keeper and takes the touch, and the keeper grabs him late, and he's tripped. So, did they consider that an attempt to play the ball?
He attempted to play the ball with his left hand, and he got by, and so he grabbed him and
yes.
with his right hand.
Yeah.
So it's penalty. You might argue about a red card in this case, but
yeah, I would definitely argue for a red card, but the referee gave a caution in this instance. Is there anybody else that has any inputs on this particular clip? I wanted to save that for last because I feel like it's the most controversial one that I should.
Well, one thing we know for sure is referees tend to sometimes be wrong.
You what?
One thing we know for sure is referees sometimes tend to be wrong.
That is true. Well, according to coaches, yes, we are always wrong.
Depends which team you have.
But still, I think I would give the benefit of the doubt to the keeper because he dived, he stretched so much, tried to play the ball, but the guy was gone and then he ended up by tackling him. So that's why I'll justify my yellow card.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Great input, great. Does anyone have any questions about anything that we covered this evening? That's all I have, and thanks for being a great audience and being a interactive audience. Bill, do you have anything else?
I have a question, Drew. So on one of the slides that you had about the goalkeeper, can you go back to one of the slides of the goalkeeper disqualification?
Okay.
It said the goalkeeper does not have to leave. It was confusing to me.
The goalkeeper doesn't what?
When you give a disqualification to the goalkeeper,
he has to leave.
He has to leave, but another player has to take the goal, and he plays short.
Yeah.
But it looked like it said that the keeper did not have to leave.
Okay, let me share my screen again.
It's the one with the lady holding the red card right before your show, right before your videos.
So here it is right here. So it says
I just want to make sure it's clear there.
A disqualified player.
Mommy hold it?
Just making sure that people understand that the keeper does have to leave.
Okay, so if you look in the parentheses, it says unless the disqualified player is a goalkeeper, a field player must be taken off, and the player's team must play short.
A field player and the keeper.
Right. I guess because what it's saying is because you can't play without a goalkeeper, obviously.
Yeah, but I guess
you have to substitute the goalkeeper, but a field player has to be removed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody understood that because the way I'm reading it, it doesn't say that the keeper has to come off.
Right. And this is strictly verbatim from the NFH.
Sure.
This is
and I understand that. Yeah. And I understand that.
Yeah,
just so we know that the keeper has to come off.
Right.
But then someone else has to take his place.
Right. Yeah. So they're saying in this instance the goalkeeper actually is substituted, but as a result, a field player must go off.
They play short.
I think the problem is they put the word unless in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like NFHS's book at all, so I don't know.
Sure. No, I was just making sure that we didn't misunderstand that.
Right. No, I appreciate you.
Clarification.
That's a great point. Thank you.
I guess we're done, Dana.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much. Great job and great audience. Lots of conversation in the chat and lots of participation. So we definitely appreciate that. Before I let Bill and Drew off the hook quite yet, does anybody have any other questions or comments for them before we wrap it up?
This is Abiodun from Farmington. I think the last video, the actual player that committed the foul was number 33, the defender, not the goalie. Because I watched the video on my phone, it was number 33 that caused that foul, not the goalie. He hit him from behind.
Yeah, I certainly saw contact from the goalkeeper and from the center back of the defender that was tracking back. But I think what they looked at was the initial contact, and it looked like it was from the goalkeeper. But again, that's.
Well, that puts a completely different outcome on the restart and the fact that they have to play with one less player and basically a goal there. That's what he's pointing out.
I agree 100%. And if a situation like that happens to you in a high school game, well, you're gonna have to go with what you saw and what your referee crew can supply to you. In this situation, they went with attempting to play the ball in the penalty area, and it was restarted with a penalty kick. So again, there was a lot of controversy in that video, I agree, but that's what Pro went with.
Thank you. Well, again, good job. We will send out a copy of that PowerPoint so that they have access to those videos, Drew. If you're good with that, it's your intellectual property. So, okay, I'll make sure I send that out. So when we send the Nate will send the actual video with your meeting stuff, and I'll send out a PowerPoint. I'll probably just put it in Google Drive and send you all the links so that you've got it and can go back and look at those videos. I know sometimes this is not the first time we've had choppy videos. Sometimes that just happens on these Zooms. So we totally understand technology is great, but not all the time. So Drew, Bill, thank you again for your work tonight. If there are no other questions, you could go ahead and log off. Nate will be sending an attendance update within the next week or so, I would think, and we'll get you all updated for the year. And again, local meeting next week, I will send that out. So Central Region, if you'll stick around for Mr. Lobbin, that would be great. Drew and Bill, thank you again. We appreciate you closing out the season strong. Thanks, guys. Everybody have a great night and enjoy the rest of the season.
Good luck, everybody.
All right, Central Region refs, we're back doing this again. So a week ago at this time, I said I was doubtful that APS would be entering into the mix.